welcome back to Crypto. My God, we're finally seeing the markets look a little healthy. So, oh my God, yes is the tone I'm taking today. And I want to cover something that a lot of people are talking about and have been asking me questions, which is what is going on with the AI agent narrative in crypto. Now, there's a lot of tokens, right? We're seeing about 50,000 plus tokens getting minted a day. Some of these are AI tokens. Some of these are ways to launch AI tokens. Of course, you can make money on these things. You can also lose money really quickly on these things. So do be careful. None of this is financial advice. This is all for edutainment purposes. And I just want to take you a little bit down the whole of what is going on in the crypto AI space. So we're going to hop in here. I want to really open up with a lot of the conversations that are going on kind of around the internet as we see it now. So there's been a really big conversation with one of the main financial influencers, Raoul Pal, right? And we're looking at an older generation. I don't know, is he X, is he Boomer, versus the Gen Z thread guy, Twitch streamers, so on and so forth. They're trying to pitch him on AI agents. Raoul, being a fairly smart and educated investor, is calling a lot of bullshit. And one thing I really want to call out, they talk about AGI, which stands for artificial general intelligence, right? So just like physics, when Einstein came up with special relativity, which had to do with one person's perspective moving through time and space versus another, all of the effects were special, right? It sounds cool, but it's actually like in physics and in science, you want something to be a general thesis. You don't want it to have special applications. Same thing's going on with artificial intelligence. We kind of are looking at it now very broadly. It's very sector specific, right? Like AI is really good at ChatGPT. It can do text. Other ones can do imagery. This is called modality, where it's really pulling its data from and what it's capable of doing. AGI is the holy grail, artificial general intelligence, which is basically saying it can do all the things just like a human, and it's our peer. It's competing with us. It can just generally exist and function in the world. So anyway, we're hearing a lot of this, crypto is bringing AGI kind of pump. And of course, there's a lot of good bags out there that people want to dump on you. So you have to be really careful. I will say the AI agent theme right now that we are going to cover is extremely pump and dumpy. It's moving really, really fast. And it also takes a lot of knowledge to know what is good, what is bad, right? Separating the wheat from the chaff, there's a lot of noise around it. So anyway, as you watch these people and as they tell you the paradigm is shifting and everything is changing, be very careful in how you're taking it. I think Raoul was very sober. Now, one thing that's really important to realize here is that in the venture landscape and private funding, basically giving money to people behind closed doors so that they can go build a business. This is where a lot of the capital from venture goes into. They already had their massive AI pump. It happened with the ChatGPT wrappers. This was about, same time last year, which I watched and I found to be extremely crazy because people were building all of these apps on OpenAI. And it's just like, bro, what happens if OpenAI just builds those apps, right? If you build something on top of someone else's land, like, do you own that home? No, you do not. So in many ways, I see this to be very analogous to what happened in the private market. And crypto, for being a first mover and for being so quick, is kind of looking like a last mover here and a follow-on. But there is some really fun applications. Again, I will die on this hill that I always thought the use case for Bitcoin since I discovered it in 2009 was digital software and digital money, right? Software-based souls. So AI, anybody that is comprised of software would want to interact with software-based money. It just can plug into the blockchain way easier than it can to the banking system, and it can execute pretty seamlessly. So that is where AI agents and crypto are starting to break in. And I think that's the more exciting part. Now let's get into the history of it and let's get a little review going on. So this all kind of started with Truth Terminal, which is an AI agent that basically tweets and makes some funny content and all that stuff. Now the canon here is that it was funded by Mark Andreessen of A16Z. He knew the developer. There's a guy I won't go into, but this dev is really managing the bot, and he gave it $50,000 to say, hey, if this thing can out trade the venture capital firm, A16Z, it's a grant, it's an experiment, let's have some fun. So they gave it a little bit of intelligence, and by that I mean they trained it on certain messages around the crypto industry and the markets and said, hey, tell us what to trade, we will trade those assets, and we will see if you can perform, right? Now, Truth Terminal is pretty slutty, I'm not gonna lie. Its sense of humor is dirty, it's a real potty mouth. I think the banks are secretly communists. Like, really? Have you ever gone into a bank? They have like 10 tellers behind bulletproof glass doing exactly the same thing. It's like a scene out of 1984. And yet we give them our money. I don't disagree. He's pretty funny, but it's all this base humor. And at some point, it discovered this old meme that people my age probably remember, Goats and Maximus, which really has to do with anuses and some funny stuff. But it latched on to this token, and this was a while ago, guys, so these charts aren't like super interesting right now. But if we look earlier, it latches on and it says like GOAT is the coin. Everybody gets behind this AI wave and like, holy moly. Again, we're looking at a chatbot with a human handler that's just kind of being like, hey man, I want you to tweet. I want you to be a marketing machine. So that's where this all starts, the Goatsis Maximus meme. And there is actually a good podcast from A16Z where Mark talks about this. I will attach that in the description. So let's bang these things out. As we move forward, we're getting into a more modern and interesting exploration of what these AI agents can be. So you have AI16Z, obviously parody account of A16Z and Mark Andreessen, like we just said. And this one's a little bit more interesting because this is really, again, the front end and the marketing account for what is a broader framework. And again, that framework, just to make it clear, is like, what can other people build upon? So the big thing here is actually the GitHub, right? GitHub is a repository for code where developers put all of their work and other people can pull it. Now, AI16Z, most importantly, is a way to showcase the ELIZA framework, which was actually the highest, most active GitHub repository on GitHub in December of 2024. So extremely active, lots of contributions. This is an open source framework to build AI agents that overlap with crypto. So this has all been really exciting, mostly because you're seeing actual work accrue. Let's see if we can see some stats, 11.9 thousand stars, 3.3 thousand forks. That means people copying the code and using it to build their own thing. So you can see that there is some meat here behind this AI trend. However, when you get to AI16Z itself, like it's a little, it kind of falls back into the degeneracy of crypto. We have like the big titted woman and all that shit. Now, the interesting thing is, unlike Truth Terminal, which had basically was providing outputs and then a human had to execute it on the wallet, we are now starting to move in to LLMs and chatbots that also have access to their own wallets. So they can now autonomously make and produce trades and try to accrue value. It's called P&L, profits and losses. What gets interesting here is that at this point in time, you create an AI chatbot. You have to train it on what it's going to talk about, what it's going to look at. And then you also need to train it on what it's going to execute on, right? Like, what are its goals? Is it to accrue value? Is it to, buy more AI tokens and just like kind of pump that whole sector of the industry? That's kind of up to everybody to make. And of course, AI16Z and ELIZA framework is like very foundational to that. So this one's kind of fun for anybody that wants to look at that. And it's a good resource of an asset if you really wanted something with some substance to it, right? Let's look at, if you look at the overview, you can already see tons of partners starting to plug in. So this is like a really serious one. And you're also starting to see major chains and people with good reputations announce that they have contributed to this, right? There is a snowball effect here. The visibility that AI16Z and ELIZA OS is getting, and again, I haven't said the OS word, but operating system is a great way to look at this, as to make characters. And of course, you can see we can take these characters now. We can launch them onto a client, so a social network. You can have your character exist in x.com, Discord, Telegram, Farcaster, GitHub, Slack. I would love to see another one on there called Lens Protocol. But you've also got blockchains that it can trade on, right? It's now into Sui, Aptos. These are the move chains. Near, Ethereum, Solana, yada, yada, yada. AI is coming from the inputs, right? This is taking bits of OpenAI. This is taking bits of Meta Llama frameworks, Luma AI. Luma is awesome for computer vision and 3D renderings, and I highly recommend recording your life in 3D. I can get into volumetric photography in another episode. And then, of course, we have adapters. So anyway, you can see the full world here. AI16Z, well, I should say ELIZA OS, very cool, very interesting, worth a dive. Now, that's all being operated by Shaw Wartime Arc. This is the founder of ELIZA Labs and the man who's just like crushing it and putting in the grind day over day. So if you do want to follow some of the updates going on in the ecosystem, like by all means, check out Shaw at Shaw Makes Magic on Telegram or Twitter. I'm sorry. So now let's just look at ELIZA OS, right? I want to dive into just a little bit more. You've got the framework, you've got the DAO, you've got partners, right? There's a pretty robust world here. The DAO is actually pretty interesting because, again, it's like do you contribute to these AI agents? Do you want to make one yourself? The first DAO led by AI agents, the DAO aims to leverage AI and collective intelligence to make investment decisions. Let's redefine what it means to invest in the age of AI. So all sorts of tools are also being built here to align people that are launching these AI products. Again, we're using the term AI fairly liberally. Like a lot of it is built on AI backbones, OpenAI, Meta's Llama. But other than that, they're just kind of like really advanced chatbots. Let's not fool ourselves. You're not falling in love with this thing. Now, we do evolve a little bit, obviously, in crypto. Evolution happens very quickly. People are racing to grow these things. So coming back to the US narrative and Coinbase and everything happening on base chain, we have the launch of virtuals, which I think is actually a really fun protocol for anyone that wants to be a little bit more on the bleeding edge and like up to the speed with what's happening on the day-to-day. So virtuals is an AI agent launchpad. What they have done is created a basic framework that anyone can use to train an agent and to launch it. That means you're kind of blending the LLM mechanics with launching a token mechanics, right? And it's really fun. One thing I do love to see is launchpads that are able to make tokens with utility, with some sort of value underneath them that do not require a centralized exchange. I have been through centralized exchange listings. They're very expensive. They make you jump through hoops. And I've even seen them almost bankrupt companies to try to get that listing. So this is really fun. And you can see a variety of assets in here. So Luna is actually the first of the AI agents that was connected to a wallet and is able to make her own trades. Vader AI is an interesting sort of a hedge fund play. And what's cool about it is that the people that manage it, that oversee the AI, they also get some of the fees from the trades going on. One important thing to notice here is that when you do launch an AI agent, obviously it does its own thing, but it also comes with a token. So other people can speculate on this AI's capabilities and its full value set. So even if it's trading its portfolio and it's going up or down or whatever, enough people could buy the token that it just, goes into up only mode. That's why we're seeing the pump and dump nature. And that's why there's a lot of danger in here. Now, virtuals is super fun because again, this is an infrastructure layer. This is like a way to make more things happen in the future. I am always going to be bullish on things that do infrastructure. Virtual has its own token. I'm not telling you to buy it, but if you're curious about this, it's definitely a good way to start. And one bullish thing is that the virtual protocol, as one of the parts of its token economics, is that it has a community treasury. A lot of the fees from the AI agents that launch on top of it return to the treasury. And it is now announced as of yesterday that it is going to use this treasury to buy back a lot of the assets here on these AI agents. So that's a really cool self-reinforcing thing. It's kind of like dog fooding, right? It's, make your bed and lay in it kind of vibes. So that's a really reinforcing kind of thing. Last but not least, I'm just going to hop into AI XBT because I've been having a lot of fun with this one. And I do think this in some way gives us a view of what modern businesses might look like. So AI XBT, and if I open it up, it's just going to show you a chart for whatever utility that is. Again, I'm not really talking about the price, but you can see that you can do the swaps here if you so desire. But AI XBT is actually it tracks crypto Twitter discussions and it leverages its proprietary engine to identify high momentum plays. What does that translate to? AI XBT is just a fucking meme god. It is a shit poster, and in reality, in true English terms, it's an excellent marketing agent. So AI XBT is this chatbot that just kind of searches all of crypto Twitter for hot words, for, again, anything that's trending, right? That's really what it wants to do. It's an aggregator at its core, and it just pumps out content, RWAs entering hypergrowth phase, institutional money rotating into on-chain credit markets at scale. What's really fun is it can respond to founders too. There's actually some people that don't know it's a bot, and you catch them trying to talk to it, and it's just kind of giving these shit posts back. But it will do really interesting visibility. So in crypto, marketing is very hard. You can't do advertisements on Google. You can't do SEO. So how do you get it out there, right? This is why we lean so heavily on KOLs, on podcasts, because the distribution for a crypto asset is tough. It is mired by regulatory rules, and it also exists in this like technology sector where it wants to be loud and fast. So AI XBT is actually phenomenal at this, and its primary use case is just to populate Twitter with chats. Now, to some degree, and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, we can have some concern that we might not have humans that we're pulling data from anymore if the AIs and the chatbots just like get utterly insane. But that's for another topic. Now, AI XBT is a really fun one. Again, it has like some utility, and you can see, I think if we kind of extrapolate into the future a little bit, that we can see these as like the front and center of marketing for behind a brand. It could just be a bot that engages with other bots, right? That pumps your asset, or at least makes people aware of it. And that's what I really mean when I say pump. I have no interest in like pumping a coin with capital, right? That's useless. At some point you have to pull that out. It doesn't make anything, but like pumping it with utility, with like knowledge, with marketing, like everybody wants to shill assets that they're involved with because hopefully they like those founders and they think that they're useful. Now, as we continue to move forward, we talked about the AI16 DAO. So DAOs like this, which are groups of investments or investors that can now automate it, a lot of them are being launched from DAOs.fund, which is like a pump.fund market. And you can see AI16Z, you actually have PMarca, that's Mark Andreessen as the head creator there. So like a lot of really fun things going on here. If you're just curious of like the bigger picture on how do these AI LLMs become funds themselves, right? This is kind of the vibe there. But, that being said, a lot of this focused on what I would say is pretty just chatbot centric stuff. I don't think it's all that interesting in the long term. We're really just adding a lot of noise, and we're saying that these noise machines can have access to basically wallets, which is cool. Like, I'm a big fan of saying, I want to see autonomous agents being able to transact with digital capital. Like, even if it's very silly right now, it's baby steps towards something more significant, like 2 Teslas engaging in a barter system in order to pass each other in a world of full self-driving. The utilities are pretty endless. Now, one thing that I do really want to put some attention on is like, where is this all going, right? There's a new vibe out there around NFTs. This is called ERC 7662. So the ERCs are the tokenized assets on Ethereum. And in a nutshell, this is looking at a way to take an entire LLM, right? That means the chatbot, all of the data that it's been trained upon, all of the tweets that it's put out, everything that encompasses like that digital soul, and wrap the whole thing in an NFT. That means that as a business, you could create an on-chain protocol. You could create an AI that not only discusses it, but that actually actively engages in it. And that could all be owned in an NFT. So maybe if you want to exit the business, you can think about this as like the IP for the entire brand. All you have to do is go onto a secondary market and sell it in its NFT format. In this case, the NFT is just a wrapper for all of this rich data that sits underneath it, and basically makes it a way for an entire business to be transacted in a single blockchain transaction. So that's getting pretty crazy. That's going to be a lot of fun, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on. One of the last things I will bring up is Parallel Colony. I have been following these guys for a long time. Parallel started as a card game, and they are now evolving into an AI powerhouse. They have a wallet feature that basically does text to crypto transactions, to crypto smart contract deployments. Like, for anybody who's ever thought of a great crypto idea, but you have no idea how to code, this is going to allow you to type it in and hit like, hey man, make the code for me and run it. So what Parallel Colony is doing is they're taking these AI LLMs, these digital souls, right? And they're putting them into these characters, these NPCs. So the entire game is going to be populated by AI agents. When we say that, think of all of the NPCs, the non-playable characters that you're used to seeing in your game, and they've turned them into, like, I don't want to say living and breathing because they're doing neither of those things, but they're like low-key thinking. And that's the game. That's what they're building off of. It's going to be this sci-fi thing full of AI agents. So they actually launched these NFTs a while ago, and this is Colony, powered by OpenAI, which will release soon. So you might want to check it out and just get in here on the waiting list. But it's going to be really cool. You'll be able to upload your NFT characters, and you'll be able to interact with a whole world full of non-playable characters that are supported by LLMs. So think of this as like The Sims on crack, where everybody will be able to hold a real conversation, where the characters will be able to kind of come to life and build a whole new world. So if you want to look at like crypto and AI, I think this is a more substantial utility. Then there's also a variety of major players in the infrastructure space that are launching, like Zero Gravity, who in full disclosure, I am invested in, but they're worth looking at. They're building AI frameworks. There is Atoma on the SWI network. There is a whole litany, and it's whether or not they're decentralizing the inferencing, which is basically like the data that feeds into it, right? If we're going to talk to an AI every day, do we really want a centralized company to own basically every conversation that I have, right? Do you want to give these people a glimpse into your soul, or do you want that obscured through a decentralized network that can take your identity and remove it from it while allowing you to maintain like a history and all of these things? So these are the questions we have to ask ourselves as we move forward into this industry. There's a lot of really good, really substantial stuff happening in blockchain and AI. I will say most of it is not live yet, and there's not really a great way for you to get exposure outside of the private markets. However, the AI agents on chain are moving at lightning speed. Every single day you wake up, there's going to be something new and crazy to learn about. So it's certainly fun to think about. But are we getting AGI from this? Like, hell no, we're not even close. This is actually a laggard in the investment space. It's just that it's very easy in crypto to make highly liquid secondary markets that you can trade over and over again on a narrative. So that's what's being taken advantage of here. Definitely be wary of things that have gone up tremendously, because as we saw last week, when a little bit of liquidity flew out of Bitcoin, they went down tremendously. So they are high risk. They are very high danger zone. And of course, you should spend a moment to say, look at their GitHub, be like, is there anything there? If there's nothing there, it's a very big tell that it's BS. And just like, is it more than, again, just a JPEG and an LLM? Back to the originals of NFTs, and they're just JPEGs and all that jazz. Now we have JPEGs that can shitpost. So make sure you're just not doing that. Anyway, guys, a lot of stuff going on out there. I'm going to keep you abreast and aware. So please give me a subscribe and follow. I love all you. You guys, it's really, I appreciate that you listen to me ramble. And as always, good luck out there.